right, this will be the last question. This webinar will be done in just over 10 minutes, so I want to get one more question in here. This will be for Curran and Stan. How should property management companies approach budgeting and financial planning to ensure sustainable growth, especially in fluctuating real estate markets? Would love to know y'all's thoughts about budgeting. I personally, in the marketing department, like no budget. I prefer that, but we'll defer to you guys.
Y'all all heard it here. No budget for the marketing department for this upcoming year.
I meant no ceiling on that budget.
I'm going to let Curran take the first down.
Yeah, I've actually got a pretty simple rule of thumb here. Just think about what Spencer Sutton would do and do the opposite, and then you'll be in great shape. That's always been my motto. But no, seriously, I think the first thing I'd think of is just awareness. If you're just thinking about that and planning for that, you're ahead of 90% of people that are running a small business. So being aware that this is something that you ought to be thinking about. To me, second thing, Matthew hit it at the intro, but know your strengths and your weaknesses, and don't be afraid to confront those weaknesses and shore them up with outside support. Everyone on this call has their strengths and weaknesses. I certainly wouldn't want to be in the marketing and sales department, would not be good for the business. We certainly don't want Spencer in the accounting and finance department, would also not be good for the business. So just knowing your weaknesses and not being afraid to lean into them, to shore them up with outside help, and realizing that you can get a lot of that help fractionally, and knowing when you might need more holistic support and hire somebody. And then the last thing I'd say, and Stan will let you add more color, but really just start with the basics. Do not get overwhelmed with trying to do everything at once. Starting with something very simple and not being afraid to iterate as you go. So even something as simple as getting in tune with your cash is something I'd recommend to all small business owners. And you can start with a 4, 5, 6 week forecast, or even keep it simple and ask your accounting team to send you a report of the cash every day so that you can just start understanding how cash is flowing in and out of the business, and picking 3 to 4 key metrics and forecasting very basic buckets of information. So we always say this internally, but everything in our forecast starts with how many doors that we manage. So having a good sense of what your door count trend looks like and iterating from there. You'll obviously have a lot of context just running the business with what management fees you're charging, what your leasing seasonality looks like, and just being able to stack those data points together. And again, start small, start simple, just start. And as you get more and more comfortable, you won't be afraid to iterate and maybe interact with your accounting and finance team or fractional team to, again, make slow improvements over time that will end up making massive changes in your business.
I remember those charts, Curran, when we were tracking cash. Remember those charts that were just going up and down, below the line, above the line? It's really great.
Yeah, I would look, I think Curran touched upon most of it. I would say, first of all, he mentioned this, it was like, where have you been? And really understanding where you've gone from, what have been the key trends that have gotten to you to where you are today. As Curran said, it all starts with doors, and that's the way we think about it. Every single week, we send out a report to management and leadership that says what's happened to the doors in and out this week, and trying to start with that part of the story, but making sure that you're being really honest with yourself, bringing other credible people in the organization, and then to the extent that you have advisors outside, bringing them to the table. What has gotten you to where you are? With that information, okay, what are the key drivers that are moving this business? Is it rent growth? Is it changes in my contracts? Is it ancillary products? Is it new markets that I'm moving into? And so saying, what are the key drivers that are happening, new hires that I might have? And then trying to put together, and it can start extremely simple, coming together with a model that has 5, 6, 7. We have a incredibly more complex model than it needs to be from a top-down perspective, but you can think about it from a bottoms-up, as Curran said, like starting with the doors, the rents, the fees that we're charging, the people that I have, the lease that I have on my facilities, and starting working that together. And then as you continue to hone that, looking at it every week, every month, every quarter, every year, whatever the cadence is that works for your business, making sure that you're tweaking it. Hey, this is something else that's come up that I've learned. And how do I then layer that into, whether it's a mental model or an Excel model, or don't ever use sheets? That's what we started getting into here. And as a longtime accountant, I'm still stuck in Excel. But just whatever it is, making sure that you're upgrading that mental model or that Excel model on an ongoing basis to take in the best information that you've got to tweak it going forward, and making sure that you're opening it up to other people. We in the accounting department have every single person in any organization is myopic. They see what is in front of them and they don't see everything else. So making sure that when you're stress testing those key drivers, hey, I think historically we've always grown 1% a month in our door count, taking that to Matthew and saying, hey, how does this look? And he goes, we just hired this person, and I think we're going to have 3% growth. And so making sure that you have credible people around the table as you're coming up with those budgets. And then also obviously baking in an ounce of conservatism. What happens if we lose our largest client? What happens if rents in the market that I'm in go down? What happens if this ancillary product is no longer something that my tenants or my owners really want? So being honest with yourself about what are the risks in your business and applying that to your model so that you're prepared when things inevitably don't go right, because there's something that will catch you, whether it's totally by surprise or something that was foreseeable. There's things that are going to go wrong.
Awesome. Great answer. Matthew, you want to add anything? We're about to shut it down.
The thing I would add is just an example of what Stan said. We're in a market right now. We have a pretty robust brokerage business for the last 3 or 4 years. And when the market turned and softened, our brokerage business went down. And so that would be like, we were prepared for that because we kept saying, what happens if this goes to 20 or 30% of what it was? And so we were constantly thinking out ahead of that. And the sooner if you can make those decisions in the objective world, when there's not the stress of it, you're just going to come up with much better decisions.
All right. Listen, thank you everybody for joining us. We hope this has been beneficial. Thank you to Jill, Stan, Curran. We really appreciate you all coming on here and being with us, and look forward to the next announcement. Next webinar is going to be January the 4th, and hope you all have a great rest of your afternoon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.